I forgot to put the budget ordinance on.
All right,
Oh, okay.
we'll be live on YouTube any second now.
Okay.
So 720 is the budget.
Yes.
Oh, crap.
Resolution 720.
It's ordinance 2720.
27. All I was hearing was 7.
Michelle, I got your email and replied to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark, I think maybe I met your double the other day.
I would. That'd be up 20.
What my connection might be a little bad because don't have very good service. So
Hey, it says we have Cliff.
Oh, yay.
Looks like he's trying to connect, but it's not. Hey, I just got a text from Roger. It says Zoom won't let me in until I update the app. He'll sign on just as soon as he can. His Zoom is wanting to do an update.
What happens when you get the generic version?
Surprise. 6 o'clock.
I have 6.
I'm having a tough time using my iPad. Who we missing?
Just Roger till his app updates. He said he'll jump on after that.
I'm trying to figure this thing out still. Why don't we go ahead and get started? We have to end by 6:45. The budget hearing for the public. Is the mayor here?
Is
Is he on?
yes.
He is. He seems like he has a bad connection.
I have a horrible connection.
I don't see
Can
him.
you hear me at all?
Every other word.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see you now. I have a 6:01. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Start with the administration. Good morning, afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, Cliff.
How are you doing? Using my iPad tonight. Mary, you have anything you want to start with?
Did you say me, Cliff?
Mayor?
Mayor, okay.
Try to get, I would like to get a better
I'm gone now.
An angel just got its wings.
Okay, Sherry, you want to, while the mayor's trying to get a connection, you want to go ahead and give us what you got?
Yeah, I can go ahead and get us started. I passed out for council, all your May information. You have your May cash statement, the new bank report, that you usually sign in the book. So you have that for May. Detailed check reports, and then and nows for May 13th. And then just a detailed check report for May 27th. If there's any questions, I can answer those, but if not, we'll just approve those in the meeting at 7 o'clock then tonight. I have one transfer that I need to ask for the next regular session. I'd like to transfer, this is in the general fund, $1,600 from the workers' compensation line item to the treasurer's incidentals. And what happened, we are starting our 2019, the state auditors are looking at our audit. This goes back. So in 2018, if you recall, those of you who are on council, we changed the percentage that we keep for the from the lodging bureau for the Coshocton County Convention Visitors Bureau. You know, it used to be an 80-20 split. In April, we changed that to a 95-5 split. In my staff member, in her worksheet, January, February, March of 18, it was the 95, or it was the 80-20, changed to the 95. Come 2019, she just copied her prior year Excel spreadsheet, not thinking January, February, and March was the old rate. So when the state auditors were looking at this year, as they're auditing our 2019 stuff, they noticed that. So essentially what that means is we owe the Visitors Bureau just under $1,600. We kept that in our general fund. That money's there. Just the allocation was incorrect for that January, February, March. So for me to get that money to them, I have to have appropriations someplace. So we're all done with our workers' comp for the year. So there's extra there. So I just like to transfer it over into the treasurer's incidentals so we can get them a check issued.
Finance Committee, you have any questions on that?
I do not.
All right.
Everybody good with that?
Anybody else? All right.
The only other thing I had in, Max is going to talk about this as well. We've been looking at a 2020 pure vacuum sweeper. And if I can, I'll let Max go ahead and jump in right now and tell you about it. And then I'll go back to the finances of it, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Max. Are you on mute, Max?
I was, sorry about that.
Okay, I've been there.
Our street sweeper was purchased in, I believe, 1995. So it's 20 plus years old. It's on its last legs. In fact, we blew the head gas. Probably got some motor damage. That's why we haven't been out sweeping the streets. As part of our stormwater management plan, we have to have a street sweeper. So Kevin and I got with Sherry, who has been talking with the bank on how we can finance a street sweeper, and I'll let Sherry talk to that. But it's a Johnston same company that we purchased from years ago. They seem to be one of the more heavy duty street sweepers on the market. It'll give us the ability to keep these catch basins and everything clean as well. That option like years ago on our present street sweeper. So something we need. Sherry's come up with a good way of financing, and I hope that I get council to approve that. So Sherry, if you want to tell them what we're thinking on how to finance it.
Okay, and then also, we can forward you the quote here, and it gives you information, more detail about the piece of equipment. I can read it, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. I will tell you the price of the street sweeper is $288,000 and $288,455. $288,455. So what I propose that I think, and Kevin and I have been looking at this almost for 2 years, and I've tried to hold him off here. What I would like to do is, with our 202 street fund, we have 2 roads in there that we pay the debt from. That is our State Route 541 paving, and then the Second Street debt. Well, that Second Street debt is to be paid off here in July. To add a little bit to that July, OPWC is not accepting any payments in July. Even though we have the cash to pay our payment, I cannot pay it until January. So whatever with them, but that loan will be paid off. And how we pay for that, how that money gets into that 202 street debt fund is through our ordinance 4217. And that is where it allocates the percentages from the income tax that goes into the retirement fund, the street debt fund, capital improvement. And so right now it's currently 2%. So what I would like to do is increase that to 5%. And I should preface that to say that 2% is capped at $51,515.15. That's all the money that can go in there for the year, because then that pays for those 2 debts. What we'll have to do is increase that to cap it at $60,000 per year. So it's just a little, do the math, just a little under $9,000 more that it's gonna cost us. But I would like to increase the percentage to 5% versus 2%, because that 2%, it takes nearly 10 months to get that $51,000 in there. And I run really close with paying those monthly payments or annual payments. So my thought was, if we can change it to 5%, and basically we're going to load that fund up front, especially come think January, we'll get the bulk of that money in there at the first of the year, and then we're going to be good. It'll reach $60,000 and then it'll stop. And then it just reverts into the general fund like it, does now. I have reached out locally, and plus Johnston sent us some finance information, but their financing was through a finance company in Indiana, I believe. So I'd rather keep it local. And I was looking at 10 years and it's 2.8%. And it would be right around $33,275 annual. So it's split up in $16,637 semi-annual payments. But that's just, with that debt, that's Second Street debt falling off, that was any way that I could possibly think of. We're used to paying that debt now. So it's not gonna affect us other than the additional $9,400, $9,500 a year is what the additional will be. So And the other change with changing that to 5%, but there again, it's not any more money going in there other than that additional 9,500. It's just gonna front load that fund in the beginning of the year. So does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Sherry Glenn, do you
Uh-huh.
feel we need one amendment to the ordinance or is this multiple amendments? How do you see this?
No, it would just be one amendment to ordinance 42-17. And then, if you have your approval that you want to proceed with this, it'll be the same procedure as what we did when we bought the fire truck. There's going to be the ordinance accepting, for the bond of the fire truck and so forth that you'll have to pass. I told him we probably wouldn't have anything prior to the January or June 22nd meeting. I told him we would be looking at, the first meeting in July to get something passed. I mean, because I'm actually going to be on vacation next week. So, I'm not going to be able to have anything from them for you, on the 22nd, other than, we can go ahead and amend ordinance 42-17.
Hey, Sherry,
Uh-huh.
do you know, did you say it would be $60,000 a year for 10 years on that line?
It would be $33,000 a year for 10 years.
And then what was the balance of the 60 to pay off? You said there was a cap of 60 going in there a year?
That's the most that we would need to put into that fund. And that would pay then for this new street sweeper. And then it would continue on with our debt of the 541.
Okay,
State Route 541.
gotcha.
Anyone else from the finance committee have any questions? Any other council persons have any questions? Okay, Sherry, you have anything further?
No, unless, if you want to just, if you would like me to go ahead and proceed, with the financing of it, and Max can correct me, but I think the company said they can go ahead and deliver, even though, they know we're going to be in the financing process of it.
That's correct.
Okay. But,
So you want a
obviously
decision
we don't.
tonight? You want that decision to be made tonight? Finance committee, you have any further questions? You want that to move forward? Or?
I'm fine with it.
Good with
Like we need it, and
Roger?
it's got a good
I'm
plan.
good with it. Fine.
Okay. Sounds like a good. Anybody else have any objections to that?
How much
Finance
did you
committee
say
has no
this?
objection.
How much did you say the street sweeper was, Max?
It's with the options selected, 297, 455.
288, 455.
Oh,
Okay, so we pay about 50,000 in interest over 10 years.
something like that, yeah.
they're giving us a dollar discount.
I will
Do we
say
need
the
to have-
finance.
Do we need to have the amendment to approve tonight so you can do this?
No. Ordinance 42-17, that's fine to go ahead and, and I don't even feel like you really need to pass out an emergency, on the 22nd, unless I don't know what you guys are anticipating break-wise for the summer. If you're looking at the end of, if we're going to do this, I'm going to shoot to have everything for you with the bond and everything for that first meeting in July. So July 13th, I believe. So I don't know if you're going to take a summer recess after that, but this ordinance to amend this income tax, it can go two readings and pass it on the third. That's absolutely fine. I mean, no rush. But I was going to say, the financing company that Kevin, the gentleman, sent from Johnston, it was real close to the same rate. It was like 2.7. And I can, we could do it for 5 years at 2.25, but, we're going to be looking at $60,000 a year payment. And I just thought, a piece of equipment, Max and I talked about it, that last, 25 years we got out of it. I think it'd be okay to take that payment out for 10 years. But
Okay, sounds like you have a consensus to move forward on that, Auditor.
Okay, will do.
Anything else?
Checking my checklist. Nope, those were the three things that I had.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, did you get a better connection?
I
Hello?
hope, as I know everyone enjoys listening to me. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Just want to send a thank you to everyone who organized the protest, which I don't see it really called a protest. I would say it's more people getting together and voicing their opinion on things that are going on currently in our world. I think that we need more people getting together, talking about things in a peaceful way. Definitely, you know, I look at it as everything starts locally, and we must come together and figure things out, agree to this, and we're all here. And I think that in our case, it's special because we're small and we can do anything we want to do. And I want people to feel like that with their own government. You know, just with the legislation on UTVs, like with the comments that I've heard, you know, some are good, bad, and different. Like I've never thought a UTV ordinance would like create such a spark in either direction. And to me, I love the response. I got the email today from WTNS and really enjoyed the comments that I've read on there. You know, with everything that's going on, yeah, there are more important things, but it's something, and that's what I think that we've opened discussion up and open dialogue up with our people, and it's something that I want to continue on. Tom has the webpage on the cityofcoshocton.com. All council members' pictures and emails are up, ward maps. So if you don't, one thing that I see, and I get messages all the time from people, if you don't live in the city limits of Coshocton, like us as a group, as a whole, we represent the people who live within the city limits of the city of Coshocton. Like, we don't represent the county. So at some point, I think the education needs to be bigger. I don't know how to simplify it any more than if you live within the city limits of Coshocton, we represent you. I don't really represent, and nobody on city council represents people who live in the county. So that's, as simple as it seems, there's a lot of confusion about who to call, about what. I just want residents to know that there is a ward map on citycoshocton.com, and it has every single council person. If there's anything that they need, any idea that they have, any complaint that they have, really, you know, encourage people to go on there and make their voice heard and contact you guys. And any idea to me is a good idea, especially when it's discussed in a civil manner. Feedback that I've gotten from the UTV ordinance is that $50 is too much, but I don't even own a UTV. So I don't know how something's too much when it has absolutely nothing to do with that person. So I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Some things that I saw is that I ran for change. Well, things that we can try anything and we can go back. We can reverse what we tried if it doesn't work. It's not like we write legislation and it's in concrete. It never can be changed, or it never can be discussed and made better. And that's what I want people to know is you have a voice and we can talk about things and make them better. One last thing I have is today I received from the Ohio Municipal League an email about Senate Bill 310. At the next council meeting, we are definitely going to have to pass a resolution. Cherry, I talked to Cherry on the phone today about getting that done. So basically, it'll be administered through the county auditor, and then we can receive help for any overtime or any supplies, cleaning supplies, anything to do with COVID. We will receive funding for. I don't know specifics on it. So basically, we have to go and register in a portal, and then we'll pass a resolution, and then we can go. During the whole thing, we've kept track of, cost on certain things, and that's what we're going to have to go after to get reimbursed for the pandemic. So it's good that we're getting state help. I appreciate the state's help, and we're just going to have to get everything resolution passed. Pretty simple, and get with Sherry and see where our costs were, and we should be getting some money. No big promises, but we will go after whatever we can to make things happen and try to get reimbursed for what we just went through. Anyone have any questions for me at all?
Thank you. That makes sense.
I do. Mark, is the overtime that we had by just changing schedules? Because I was trying to look at that section, that 42 USC 601D, and I was having trouble locating that because, it's very specific, if we don't, it has to be certain costs, but is overtime, that we had that?
I have to research that more. And when I say Max has to research that more.
Well, Max and I were talking about it today.
Yeah,
and,
we need there's probably a lot of gray everywhere with everything, how this whole thing's, what came about and going through it. There's probably, we need to do more research or get a contact with the state to guide us. Maybe Chris Sykes. This has all been so gray that, I haven't saw any publication or any documentation that says this is exactly what qualifies. And I think what we're going to see is there's going to be money left on the table. And at some point, they're going to have to make exceptions for unique situations or what people have done. Once again, there's no book written on this. So I think there's going to be a lot of dialogue when we get into this, because it's not a one size fits all thing. It's I think there's going to be unique situations for unique locations. And I think I haven't saw anything that is cut and dry like here it is. So that's what we're going to need to dig deeper into. So that's kind of, when I get back, I'll get the shovel out and start digging.
Well, because our health department has already received approximately $18,000.
Right.
But, my thought is with that, they have to spend, and, I guess maybe that's where we're a little bit fortunate that, we haven't had large expenses due to this.
Yeah,
the way
really,
it's affecting us is, on the revenue side. So, but I don't want us to get money in that. I don't want to leave money on the table, but I just want us to be careful that we're not going to get federal dollars in, and that's going to, we're going to have to be careful how that affects our financial statements, our reporting, and then not be able to show where we did, and then, turn around and send it back, because I think that's, that's what will happen is, if we can't, prove what we have spent it for.
Right. If there's no here's what you can spend it on, but that's where there's needs to be more discussion. The governor hasn't signed it. I'm assuming he's going to sign it. There's no guarantee that he's going to sign it, but we'll get creative. But I understand where you're at. If we get a pile of money and then say, oh yeah, we can't have this. I mean, so there's just there's a lot of unanswered questions so far. I mean, it's like, it's here, but what exactly can it be used for? Actually, I've talked to media, I've talked to the press about this already, and I'm like, how do I answer this? Yeah, we have expenses. We don't have a huge amount of expenses, but whatever we can get to cover it, and hopefully it does cover it, but it's kind of been wishy-washy what exactly what exactly it covers. So that's something that we're just going to have to work hard at figuring out what's covered and what.
Right. And like Max and I said earlier, I mean, we can't, you can't say you've done things that you haven't done. And, we've bought some extra cleaning supplies and so forth, and, put up the plexiglass shield in, 2 different areas. I'm sure something like that would be covered, but, I'm just not sure on the overtime. I don't know. Because
Right.
that was our, we're still essential, they were still essential workers. We just chose to work them a different shift to give them, time apart from each other.
Well,
So
and
I don't,
and
we
I
don't want to
think-
be creative
Right,
to,
but I don't think we'll get penalized, and that's where we can go. I think they're going to make exceptions in different circumstances, and I think that what we did was, I think, smart moves all the way, and I don't think that we should be penalized for doing what we need to do. So we just need to do more homework on the way thing, or what's covered and what's not. So I think it's a good discussion with Chris Sykes and the county, and basically they're going to administer the money. So that's, we can't say we need money for something that's not reimbursable. So I wish we could, but we can't. But it's just of a hurry up and wait. We just need to get a resolution done. That way that area is covered and register on the portal for the grants, and that way we're prepared, and then go from there after all that happens.
I would almost guarantee you, we will be told how that money is to be spent.
Oh,
that's what they're doing with schools. Here's your money, but here's how you're going to spend it.
Right.
exactly.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, this Glenn and Sherry as well. Is this important enough that we should actually involve the members of the finance committee in looking into this?
I mean, more eyes wouldn't hurt for me. I mean, if it's something that you want to look into and get with Sherry and say, here's specific things. I mean, like Sherry said, we didn't incur millions of dollars of cost with this. I mean, it was pretty nominal what, the costs that we did incur, but I think it's worth digging, I mean, I think it's worth it. I think when the finance committee needs to get involved is when we have issues like, say, overtime, and we can't get any help with that. I think that's when we reach out to the state and say, hey, we wouldn't have paid this overtime. We wouldn't have switched these shifts around if it weren't to keep these people safe in our community up and running. So I think that is maybe where we need to get involved if we hit a roadblock in the process of where they're telling us that our money, what we can spend that money on is what I see.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anyone else have any questions for me at all?
Yeah, Glenn again. The UTV situation, do you want to discuss that now? You want to discuss that tonight in the regular meeting or at a later date?
I mean, we can discuss it now if everyone wants to discuss it now. I think on my end, and all I'm going to say is it's pretty cut and dry. People have tried to bring golf carts and four-wheelers, and why is this and why is that? to me, it's pretty simple. It brings another opportunity to our community. I've heard everything from there's semis on our streets and it's dangerous. And if you get hit in one of those, if you drive a smart car, if you drive a bicycle, if someone pushes you down the street in a shopping cart, you can get ran over. These things are street legal vehicles. There's no reason not to pass this. It's a new idea. It's got the town talking. Everyone who doesn't even have one wants to complain about the $50 fee. If we're going to go anywhere, we need to try new things. If we're not going to go anywhere, I won't propose anything new. I don't see it as a big, I don't even see it as half of as big a deal as what it's been made. So if it doesn't pass, I'm not going to be mad, but you're going to see me slow down on new ideas, because why propose something if everyone's going to fight against me? If people are going to complain when I try to do something, then complain that I'm not doing anything. It's a hell of a lot easier. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I appreciate your yes votes. And then that's the last thing I'm going to say about it.
Here's my only concern. I could care less. I've had people tell me they're for it. I've had others tell me they're against it. I would just wish that we could discuss potential ordinances in our committee before it goes on the agenda. Because, the procedure has been that we would discuss the idea, refer it to the proper committee, even if it's that night, and the committee, just like we did with the expenditures a minute ago, the committee says, yeah, no problem. And then it goes on the next meeting's agenda. That way we have time to research it, discuss it before it goes on the agenda for a first reading. That's my concern with it.
No, and I agree, Roger. I think that the committees need to come back and really discuss things more, even have their own committee meetings and get more, dig deeper into something like that. And I agree with what you're saying.
I think that dog just agreed also.
The dog, as long as the dog agrees, we're all good.
I just have some questions regarding the ordinance. I know I read the language of the equipment, and a couple people have concerns about requiring turn signals on them. Turn signals are on vehicles. If we're going to have them follow the proper, if they're going to follow the proper laws of a car, should they be required of turn signals? Are they going to have to provide proof of insurance? Are we going to allow 16-year-olds to drive these on the roads, or are we going to set, or we might not even be allowed to set an age limit? And then I know there was the concern of out-of-town people, if they would have to have an inspection, and also who's doing the inspections and what are their qualifications?
Hey, Jeff, you have the answer to all those questions, so.
Okay.
You can go ahead and comment.
All right. As far as the turn signals, Ohio Revised Code does not require turn signals on any vehicle. You're allowed to make hand gestures for turns. So that's why there's no turn signals required on this. Number two, proof of insurance is one of the things that we said they would have to provide upon inspection. As a law enforcement officer, I believe I had the ability to do the inspection. That was what the plan was for people to make an appointment and do the inspections at City Hall. And I would do the inspections. I'm sure that if that's not agreeable, we can get somebody from the sheriff's office to come and do that. What was your other questions?
If they are an out of town, like if they would come into town, would they have to set up an inspection? Because I was made aware from somebody else who's very knowledgeable that not all cities require inspections. So if they lived in a city that didn't require it, would they have to set it up here if they were just driving through to go to another county?
Well, According to 4511-215, it talks about utility vehicles, low speed vehicles, underspeed vehicles, and mini trucks. One of the requirements is a vehicle owner who wishes to operate an underspeed or utility vehicle or a mini truck on public streets or highways to submit the vehicle to an inspection conducted by a law enforcement agency that complies with inspection requirements established by the Department of Public Safety under section 451302 of the Ohio Revised Code. So inspections under that section are required. And that was just, that was one of the things we looked at. If you don't want to require inspections, again, I have no problem with that. But it's hard to tell what you're liable to have on the street if you don't. If somebody wants to come into the town for a weekend, they're going to need to make plans for that to happen. And, this thing's good for a year. So they could take any time to come in and get that inspection and have the full year to operate it in the city.
And then there was also some discussion, are they allowed or not allowed on state routes?
No, they are not. By Ohio Revised Code, they cannot. Right now, they can only operate on county roads and township roads with the approval of the sheriff of that county. They're only allowed on city streets by an ordinance, and they are not ever allowed on state routes or interstates.
So that would prevent them from operating on Cambridge Road and any place that 541 goes through the city?
No, because that has an established speed limit of under 35 miles an hour. So as long as it has the city has established a speed limit on there of under 35, they can legally be operated.
Then it should be posted.
So I've gotten.
Wouldn't this come under? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Cliff. Thank you. I've gotten several emails from people that are definitely against. They're not designed or manufactured for on-road, or they're manufactured just to be for off-road purposes. The tires aren't made for paved streets. The braking is going to be an issue. So I Googled it today, and they pretty much said the same thing online. Like the manufacturers of the UTVs are saying these aren't made to be on city streets. So I'm really concerned to say yes to it.
It sounds like this ordinance is going to need some more discussion. And let me just give you the process that we look at from my chair. That everything we do goes through committee. That's why we have committees set up. And the chairs of every committee can make a recommendation for a particular ordinance to go on, or the chair can make a recommendation. As long as there's no adverse feelings towards going on, but the committee has to make that determination. So it should be run by the committee. I would agree also with the mayor that sometimes the committees need to meet themselves individually and iron some of these things out at different times. But that is the process in which we need to do it. And hopefully we can follow that process and move things a lot smoother. Sounds like this needs a little more discussion. Anybody disagree with that?
No, sir. Cliff, which committee would you recommend? Would this be ordinance or would this be safety?
I would go both because it's going to be an ordinance written. That's what the request is, but I think safety should be involved in that also. At least a representative from safety.
Well, there's some overlap that could take care of itself.
Yes, yes. But either one of those, I think maybe both, given the nature. It looks like there was a 50-50 on the endorsement or those who are for or against. So I think maybe there needs to be some more discussion. Would you say?
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Have we had any comment from the sheriff's department at all on this ordinance? What their feelings are? They're the ones that have the police said.
We did meet with the sheriff's office. They were with us before the ordinance was ever written. Dean was there and the sheriff was there and JD was there, and Dean and I passed this ordinance back and forth with the revisions to make sure we were all on the same page with that.
Even if both chairs can get together from the ordinance and the safety committee, that might be something. But however you want to work that out, I do think there needs to be more detail brought out about this.
Well, two out of
So
the
how say you want to keep this on the agenda tonight?
I'd rather not.
Okay, you're chair of the safety committee. I'm sorry, Chad is safety. Chad, how do you feel about this?
I would like to talk about it more. I think there's more to discuss. Are we allowed to get together I mean, how many people are allowed to get together and discuss without media? Just two?
Well, you gotta have the media. On the sunshine law, you have to notify the media if you're having a meeting so the public can come.
I mean, if we can't get together as a council, how are we gonna get together as a committee to, I mean, do we go through? Do I need to get
That's a good question. How do you propose we get together, given the nature of the pandemic?
But the requirement from the health department is less than 10 people.
Okay,
So as long as this is my opinion from working with Catherine on stuff so far. If it's less than 10 people, I think you probably could meet in council chamber and have distancing rules without too much of a problem.
I guess
think that would work.
my question also would be, if Chad is the chair of the safety committee, I'm the chair of the ordinance committee, that would just be one council member from each committee, which I don't believe would constitute the need for public notice.
That's what I'm thinking. If there's only two of us, why should we have to notify the public?
And we're not on the
Ask the
same
law
committee.
director.
It's still a public meeting. You would have to notify the public.
Okay, there's only two other people involved in both committees. That'd be four, plus maybe Mark or Jeff. We could keep it at five unless we wanted to invite the media.
Or you'd have to invite the media.
You'd have to invite them, yeah.
Well, we could invite the media, but
I doubt that they would come for this, but maybe they would.
Don't you have to invite the public as well?
Exactly.
Yeah, see, now we're getting carried away over 10 people, you know?
Why don't you just have a discussion at a committee meeting the next time for, set it at 5:30 and spend 15, 20 minutes or a half hour talking about it.
good idea.
That works for me.
That's fine.
Okay. So we'll not have that on the agenda tonight. Is that what I'm hearing?
Let's table.
Yeah. Okay, we want to table it? And we'll need to take a vote. Am I right, Director? To table it?
You'll need to take a vote to table it. I would suggest you give it the first reading and pass it and then talk about it before you deal with it rather than table it. But that's your
It had a
choice.
first reading last week.
You had the first, yes.
That's
Yeah,
second.
it's up for second reading.
Then you could take it off the agenda tonight, or you could table it or give it the second reading and then discuss it before giving it a yes or no vote.
How do you want to proceed, Safety Committee? Ordinance?
What do you think, Chad?
Let's take it off and let's talk about it in 2 weeks. If
Then
we
you'll
need
need to make a motion to table and it'll have to pass by majority.
Got that?
Figure
Yes, clerk?
6:44.
Yes, I'm looking at the clock. We got 1 minute.
Can
Anything else?
I make the motion to table it? I mean,
We have to wait till meeting probably, don't we?
Yeah, the meeting. When we get to that ordinance, you can make that motion, Chad.
Right.
Cliff,
Yes.
can I ask one question just for clarification? For things, I remember when we went to this format of 2 meetings a month, if something was going to be added to the agenda, it needed to be approved by council before going on as an addition. Except for, because I remember expressing concern about transfers and ordinance or appropriations,
Yeah.
that those can always be on there as, an addition. But like an ordinance like this, in my thought and understanding, should not be on the agenda as an addition until it's approved by council, and then would just go on the agenda. Am I
That's what I
understanding? Did I
believe.
follow that correctly? Or if I,
That's been the history, Sherry, of what we've been doing. So if we can, that keeps a little order in the meetings also and gives us ample time to talk about it if we
Okay.
do it that way. Yes.
that's
I have
how I
6:46.
was understanding it all.
Okay, well, I have 6:46 and we have on the agenda that we have to have a public meeting for the budget 2021. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting right now as far as the committee meeting. And we'll open the meeting for the public dealing with the 2001 Coshocton City budget. And this is a hearing for anybody. Clerk, have you received anything from anyone?
Not regarding
Any questions?
the.
Okay. We'll be here until 7. It will be open till 7. So if anybody wants to email us a question, the auditor's here, mayor's here. If you have any questions, you can email those to the clerk.
Does any council members have any other questions?
Wash.
Other than what we went over last week or 2 weeks ago
On the budget?
on the budget? Does anybody have any questions on that for me?
None here.
Okay. Darn it, I thought maybe somebody would have a question this time.
Well, grab an iced tea or some coffee, or we'll be here until 7. 15 minutes. Keep your windows open. You can do what you need to do. If we have any questions, we're going to refer the question to the auditor or the mayor, since they worked on the budget. And maybe a council person may have some questions or be asking questions also.
Are we allowed to discuss anything else besides the budget right now?
I don't think so. This is for the budget.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the call of the meeting. But you can sing if you want to, Chad.
Nah, I just had a question for Mr. Porter. I'll ask him later.
Okay.
I don't happen to see anybody online. Is there anybody?
You are.
Well, thank you, sir.
Says there's 8 watching and I'm one of them.
It says 8.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm on
gonna
it.
I'm gonna step away for a minute.
All right, we'll be convening at 7, so be in the area.
Now we're in the public part, and I want to. I can't deal with this over. Tiger. I hope nobody could hear me talking to my dogs.
We can,
Can't believe you talk to your dogs like that, Glenn.
Oh, you have no idea. My black lab is taking to eating poop in the backyard.
All right.
We are streaming live, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said poop. Hey, Mike, you feeling completely better these days?
I have 656.
Hey, Cliff, this is Glenn. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you see me? I think I've lost my camera.
I don't see you.
Mm-mm.
I see your
Well,
name.
I'm here.
Okay, you're in the dark. Yeah, I can see something
Oh, I see
moving
what
there.
I did. It's looking the other way. I don't know how to fix it.
Hit the little camera thing, Glenn.
Well, you got 3 minutes.
Ah!
Ms. Turner,
Yes,
will you lead us in the pledge tonight?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Hey, Michelle, thank you for being down there on Saturday.
Yes, you're welcome. I wouldn't have been anywhere else. It was very nice.
I wanted to be so badly and I just couldn't. In case.
Council, I emailed you the quote and the specs for the sweeper.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome. Any questions, ask Max or Kevin. Kevin Shire can answer.
We have 1 minute. I have 7 p.m. Council come to order. Good evening. Welcome to the council meeting on June the 8th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Glad to have those council persons who are here and officials, and glad for those who may be watching at home. We appreciate you tuning in. I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll, please.
Andrew,
Here.
Gross,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Mishler,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Bowman's,
Here.
Turner,
Here,
Councilwoman Turner will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Gross will lead us in the invocation. Will you stand, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
United
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gross?
Father, we thank you again for this opportunity and privilege to serve the city of Coshocton in our individual capacities. I pray that you would just give us wisdom and guidance as we meet during this session. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Council should have received the minutes for May 26, 2020. in your email. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a
Mr.
mo-
moves to accept.
Mr. Johnson makes a motion to accept. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Mishler, second?
Yes.
I heard your voice first. Anything further? Clerk, call the roll.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
I'll abstain since I wasn't at the meeting.
Bowman,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. Thank you. Clerk, do we have any public input in emails or text?
No, sir.
Cherry, may I ask, was there any input regarding the public meeting at 6:45?
No.
Thank you.
Do we have any standing committee reports? Now we'll move to the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor?
Like I mentioned in committee, I wanted to thank everyone who came out to the courthouse and made their voices heard. Also would like to thank the Sheriff's Office, Coshocton Fire. There are a lot of people behind the scenes meeting all week to make sure contingency plans were in place for the safety of all of our residents. And just want to thank everyone for keeping it civil and keeping it kind and keeping it good. And want to let people know that we want to hear people's voices. Sometimes people reach out to me on Facebook. I'm sure you guys get messages. Want to remind them to go to the cityofcoshocton.com where everyone's email is posted and send us an email and let's guide people in the right direction. And just want to recognize the people who put on the protest, peaceful protest downtown for making everyone's voices heard. And just appreciate, everyone wanting to talk more about the UTV ordinance. I never thought it would be a hot button issue, but really appreciate people's support or lack of support either way. And, really just appreciate the voices of the people. So, in any and all ways, and really look forward to getting that passed at some point. And let's talk about it and let's make this the beginning of people actually knowing that their voices are heard. So just want to thank Coshocton. I'll be on vacation all week. So if you need anything, talk to Max Crown or Cherry or Jeff or anyone else. I'm really enjoying the break after my first 6 months and really appreciate what's been going on around town, even with things that we never ever saw happening. So it's been an exciting and eventful first 6 months for me, and I appreciate it. And I am glad to have a little downtime for a week. So ready to come back sunburnt and peeling and rejuvenated and ready to go another 6 months. So I always tell people when it gets tough, take it one day at a time. If that's too tough, take it 12 hours at a time. If that's too tough, take an hour at a time and go down to a second if you have to. So it's been a wild year, and we've had a lot of fun and a lot of things have happened. So I don't see anything but great things coming out of this. Appreciate you guys and your help so far this year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll have the Service and Safety Director's report. Max?
Yeah, I got a couple things, Cliff. Schubert Tennis will be in town tomorrow morning for the next 3 or 4 days, all park, so we can get that project finished up. So, that's for the basketball court, tennis court, 3 pickleball courts, and we'll actually be getting, they're going to give us price. There's a lot of empty space on the northwest corner of that court that's not being utilized, and we've had the tennis association and the pickleballers come. We may put a combo court in there where if they was playing tournaments, they could have like the losers bracket on that court. But Schubert showed me a drawing where you can play tennis or pickleball on the same court. So looking forward to see if we can make that work. In regards to that, our parks do open on Wednesday. I don't know why they waited till Wednesday to do it, but June 10th. So we'll be getting the basketball hoops back up and getting the caution tape down. And so the kids will have the swing sets and things to play on. Cleanup day. We're going to go ahead and have it. Normally we have that in April, as you all know, but it will be on June 20th from 8:30 to 11:30. That's put on in by the United Way and the city of Coshocton. 8:30 a.m. registration at the Court Square gazebo. The first 50 participants will get a free T-shirt. We'll have donuts, bottled water, and of course we provide the garbage bags for everyone. And yeah, see everybody there. And then I did email you guys out the systemic traffic study that has been going on for about a year now with ODOT and Arcadis. June 15th, been working with Kevin Butner of Omega. We'll be going after a small cities grant. That'll be our first attempt at it. And it would be to upgrade all our traffic lights in town. So you can read through that. It's got pricing. It's got how many accidents we've had over the last 4 or 5 years. It mainly deals with 5 main arteries. That big Chestnut Street, 2nd Street, Main Street, Walnut Street, and 7th. So I think you'll find that some interesting reading. And I believe that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Max, Roger.
Yeah.
Are there any, I think we talked about this a while back, but had someone ask me again, are there any plans for John Street? That would be one question. And secondly, I had a couple people ask about painting their fire hydrants, and after talking with you and Mark, they were given a go ahead to do that. And it kind of brought my attention to the fire hydrants in town. They do need a lot of attention. So I don't know if we have a summer crew that could address that. A lot of them are rusted. A lot of them have so many weeds around, you can't even tell there's a fire hydrant there. I just think that's maybe something we need to get on the books for safety purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to weed around all of them, as you know. Are they looking bad? Yes. Can residents paint their own fire hydrant? Yes. It needs to be OSHA safety yellow. A lot of it comes down to manpower, Roger, to tell you the truth. I mean, for us, we have a piece of equipment called a plug hug, has been used for a good many years. Once you take the spinning wire brushes, is what it is. Do that, you immediately have to paint it or it begins to rust. I don't have a good answer for you tonight on when that's going to get done. Anybody wants to paint their own, that'd be a great help to us, obviously. Right now, we've been concentrating on trying to get, we contract with the William Albert Company to repair the ones that are not functioning. It's going slower than what we would like. We just put a new one in up at the end of Grandview. Mike's seen that. But yeah, traffic or fire hydrants are an issue. As far as John, that's a concrete street. It's got some very bad places in it. Kevin Shire has a plan to go in there hopefully this summer and cut those places out to get it leveled up, because that has to be done before we'd ever even think about blacktopping that.
Right.
So for this year, the best I'll get is we'll go and do some full depth repairs, cut the concrete out and try to level those bad areas up. So that's what I know about John Street.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That concludes my report, Cliff.
Cliff, you're muted.
I'll text him.
Yeah, I had something come on my screen, said it was locked up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, law director's report.
Chair, can you tell me if the law director's report was emailed out?
June the 5th.
Very well. Besides the May law director's report, I have nothing unless there's questions concerning what's the ordinances or anything else.
Any questions for the law director?
Any update on the housing going to the Supreme Court?
I have on my desk my completed response to their memorandum in support of jurisdiction. I'm fighting that jurisdiction, obviously. It needs to be filed by the 15th of June, so it likely will go out in the mail tomorrow. How long it will take for the Supreme Court to decide whether to accept jurisdiction, I have no idea, especially in light of the COVID. But I would hope that we could get an answer on this before the end of the summer.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you for that report. We'll have the auditor's report.
Good evening. Before I go on with my monthly stuff, I want to jump back to one thing on the committee meeting for the amendment of ordinance 42-17 on section 3 for the street debt. I want to add on there for that to be effective August 1st, 2020. I don't want it to be effective right in the middle of the month for our income tax administrator. That wouldn't be very kind of us to do that to her. So if I can just add August 1st, I think that would be much easier for her.
Any objection? All right, we'll go.
Okay, then with my regular monthly stuff that you have, again, for the minutes, it needs to reflect the cash statement and the bank report dated May 28th, detailed check report, and then announced for May 13th, and then detailed check report for May 27th. If there's any questions, I can answer. If not, they just need to be approved in the minutes.
Do I have a motion to accept the auditor's report for the minutes? Mr. Shad?
Motion.
I'll second.
Johnson, Mr. Moore makes a second.
Yes.
Anything further? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Salmons,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Property inspector's report.
Should have received my report by email. I'll be glad to answer any of the questions you might have.
Any questions for the property inspector? Yes, Chad.
Question. There's a gentleman on 7th Street. I think it's 426, 427 7th Street by Circle K.
Yes.
The rear of his property backs up to one of Mr. Gilbert's properties.
Yes.
The shingles are falling off and they are hitting his garage and destroying the siding on his garage. Since we have ownership per se of these properties, is there any way we can get a tarp up there or something to try to stop this from happening until we can get these tore down? Or, I mean, he said he's been fighting with us for months about it, and I don't know what to tell the guy. I mean,
Well, he was probably the first person that I spoke with when I took my position 2 years ago. And as I've told him, it's in litigation, and I go with what Bob tells me, and we really don't have anything that I don't think we can do with those properties. We're mowing them, but I don't know that they're clearly ours to going to make any kind of change on them, are they, Bob?
Well, I would approve if we have to get in there to secure them or to protect other houses. I would have no problem approving that. I don't know how we would stop the shingles from falling off.
Locked up, Bob.
Bob, are you there?
I would approve it. I just don't. Can you hear me?
And now,
Are you there, Bob?
Can someone hear me now?
Yes.
You're distorted.
Yes.
Gone. What I can do is I can get with Bob tomorrow, find out what our, what legally we can do. As he, you know, like he said, I'm not sure a tarp would help because it probably would just blow off in a windstorm, but we, you know, I don't know what else to do short of that. I know he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay. What I was saying is, yes, the case is in litigation, and yes, I would be hesitant to make structural changes to the residents. But if we have to get in there to protect city property or to protect other citizens' properties, if you have an idea, Jeff, I would approve it, absent tearing the house down. I don't know what we would do about falling shingles, but if you have an idea, I'll approve it.
Okay.
Right. Hey, Chad, with that said, people have to understand that, like, the process, like, we all, like, Jeff wants to be done with that. City Hall wants to be done with that. And it's, it's.
Realize that, but this guy, they can't even go out back because they're afraid that slate and it's falling, and you know they have grandchildren and they can't go backyard because of this roof falling.
Right. And
there's got to be a way to put a tarp or something up there to try to hold back.
No, I agree. I would love to bulldoze all of them. And I just want people to know that Jeff has done everything that he can within the law. And like, it's not like Jeff against the city residents. Like, people call him and like yell and scream and cuss at him. But if he had a bulldozer and he was allowed to, I'm sure he would bulldoze that house down. But people, like, I don't think a lot of times people understand, and that's another educational. If it was behind me, I'd feel the same exact way. It's like it just sucks that our hands are tied.
Okay. In the meantime, what's the city's liability for damage or injury?
That's my concern. Are we liable for the property damage to this man's house
or personal injury?
Right.
In my opinion, based upon the circumstances of the case, I fail to see how anyone would hold us liable. We're doing everything possible to take this through the system and to take care of the situation. It's just that we've run into somebody that has free lawyers and is taking it all the way they can. With that being said, the other property down there, didn't Jeff, we do something about the
you put a fence
foundation to try to fix that situation?
All we did was put an orange construction fence to keep people away from it. Let me pick the brains of a couple contractors that we deal with quite often and see if somebody can come up with some idea that is non-invasive to that structure, that in case we would lose, they can't say we've damaged it, but let me see what I can do about getting something up there to stop them from falling.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you all.
Anything further on that issue? All right, thank you very much. Anybody else? All righty. Moving right along. We have introduction of ordinances tonight. Looking at the agenda, we have an addition. We discussed this in committee meeting 27-20. I'd ask the clerk to read 27-20. Do I have the right one?
Yes. An ordinance adopting the budget of the city of Coshocton, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 2021 and submitting same to the county auditor.
Do I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Mishler, so moved. Second?
I'll second.
Kaylee, is that you?
Yes.
All right. Kaylee second. Ms. Andrews? Anything further? Clerk, call the roll.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Salmons,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
All right, then we'll move to first reading. That is accepted into the agenda. First reading will be 26-20, appropriations 26-20. I'd ask the clerk to read that, please.
Appropriations.
You've heard the first reading of 26-20. Are there any questions or discussion? Is this to take its course?
Yes.
2620, no, if that can be a passed, I would appreciate it, that for appropriations.
All right, that's 26-20 is requested to be passed. Do I have a motion? Mr. Johnson?
Suspend the rules and give us.
Been moved to suspend and give a second. Is there a second?
I'll
Yes, a
second.
second.
Ms. Turner gives a second. Anything further? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Okay, who seconded the motion?
Ms. Turner?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Salmons,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
I would ask the clerk to give a second reading to 26-20.
Appropriations.
You've heard the reading. Are there any questions or discussion?
I'll move we suspend the rules and give it a third reading, please.
Ms. Turner moves to suspend. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Salmon, second. Clerk, call the roll.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Salmons,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
I would ask the clerk to give a third reading to 26-20.
Appropriations.
You've heard the third reading of 26-20. Are there any questions or discussion? Being none, the question is, shall you pass this ordinance? Clerk, please call the roll.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Salmons,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
26-20 is adopted. First reading, 27-20. I'd ask the clerk to read 27-20, first reading.
An ordinance adopting the budget of the city of Coshocton, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 2021 and submitting same to the county auditor.
My understanding this will take its course?
Yes.
Yes, all right. Moving down to the second reading. Second reading, 24-20. We discussed this in committee. I'd ask the clerk to read 24-20.
An ordinance to add chapter 376 utility task vehicles to the city of Coshocton codified ordinance.
For the second reading, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to table this for discussion.
I'll
There's been a motion
second.
by Mr. Johnson on the floor for a motion to table. A second, Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion? This is a motion to table. Clerk, please call the roll.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Salmons,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-20 is tabled. There are no third readings, no resolutions. Is there any old business? Any new business?
Mr. Biggers,
Yes.
generally you have me read all of the department head reports that were mailed out to council. Do you want to do that in new
Well,
business?
you're reading my mind, aren't you, clerk? Yes, I was going to ask you to do that now. Those reports that haven't been read, if we received any more, can you name those and put them in the record?
Yes, the mayor's report was emailed out June the 1st. Public Works Director report was mailed out June the 15th, and income tax report May the 28th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Are there any communications from council?
I would like to suggest the next meetings at 5:30, so we can discuss 5:30 to 6 o'clock. The thing.
Mr. Johnson asking for 5:30, the next meeting, committee meeting. Any objections to that?
I couldn't hear for what purpose.
To discuss UTVs.
Thank you.
Any objection? Clerk, if you'll make note of that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Any communications from the administration?
Cliff, I just had one other thing.
Yes.
I would like us to consider as soon as possible, or as soon as we can, due to the governor's action, is to return to our normal meetings and do away with Zoom. Thank you.
All right, as long as the proper declarations are lifted, I'm sure everybody would like to get back to that. See your smiling faces in person, absolutely. Any other communications?
I just wanted to say I can't wait to give Roger a hug when we can get back together.
Make sure you have your mask on.
All right, 6.
You can do that after
You
we
as
adjourn,
well.
Mr. Mayor. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Hey, Cliff,
Yes.
real quick,
Yes,
just,
go
right in the minutes, just, thank you to our rec employees. We got a lot of compliments this weekend. As you know, they started playing baseball again now, Kids America. They had a large tournament. I think they had about 14 teams involved. And we got a lot of compliments on what our fields looked like. As you know, most of them guys are retired, and they come back to us every year just to a lot of snowing and take care of our baseball fields. And we just like to give them a thank you from the city.
They've done a great job in the field at Lake Park also, Max.
Yep. Yeah, and guys do great work for not a lot of money. So sometimes thank yous go a long way. So.
All right. Anything further?
Thank you all. I hope to see everybody in person soon.
Yes, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Morris, second by Mr. Johnson. Anything further? Clerk, call the roll.
Andrews,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Bowman's,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Next committee meeting will be at 5:30. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Be
you.
safe.
Yeah, everybody.
Bye.
See you guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.